All right, we are back with a new show, right?
Da 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 da.
Didn't we
The
change the
intro.
tune? I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
what's the
remember.
new what's the new tune?
I don't know. I don't know.
Give us a sing along, Oscars. The fans want to hear you tonight. By the way, while I'm here, big love to us for doing such good and so many nice interviews. Oscars, which has been your favorite interview so far,
We will.
and which has been your least favorite tonight?
We will give an award to the
Oh,
best
nice.
interview, right?
So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the official purpose of this show. Is we are planning to back in our old stable. We used to do an awards show once a year, and we thought let's bring that brilliant idea to Team 601. And so it's the 2020, because obviously last year, Team 601 Awards, aka it's Oscars Oscars.
You came up with a brilliant. You get an award for this brilliant name.
The Oscar for the best award naming of 2020 goes to myself for Oscars Oscars. Thank you very much.
First applause.
First award.
All right. Let's before we get to official awards. How was your 2020?
Good. I think one of the best poker 2020s I've had. As always, worked quite hard. Lots of stuff. I was very happy. I'll be honest. I think I had a really good time. I really enjoyed it. I think it's nice when you can kind of see progression. We talked about this before once a little bit. Well, actually, I think you mentioned it yesterday when had all my Diet Coke bottles arrived, and it was like, oh, look at Tom's drinking out of glass bottles now, and that is true. And Oscars, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you watching who may not know, I used to not drink out of these glass bottles. I used to not be able to afford these lovely glass bottles. Just drinking out of Diet Coke swamps or something. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't afford anything. And now I've made it. Glass bottles, isn't it? So that's lovely. But it's nice to kind of see. I think both in poker and in your life, and you see some sort of progression and developments. And yeah, I really enjoyed my 2020. It was very good, and I thought let's bring on 2021. Even though I mean, there was a global pandemic and everything. For me personally, quite a good year. So, swings and roundabouts. For you as well, Oscars, enjoyed it?
Same here, yeah. I think 2020 was one of the best years. Because, yeah, the pandemic affected a little bit, like Latvia, not so much, but still. The biggest change was we spent a lot more time with family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always good.
Right? That was a positive.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. You said, not now, baby, no more. You said, now, baby, I've got time. Let's do it.
That could be a meme of the year, probably. That goes to Mocha
That's another award. Mocha Chocolate, exactly. Yeah. That's another award we'll give as well, yeah.
I guess we can start with some awards, right?
Sure.
And then just swing with whatever comes next.
For anybody that's used to our normal, very high levels of professionalism, I should say that we're slightly more unprepared this topic. Oscars has done a lovely job listing out categories for Oscars, and so we have a few categories, but we haven't even agreed on winners yet. So we're just gonna have to go through, I guess, the categories one by one, and then come up with some names. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll edit bits out of this if I go on. Imagine I go on some long ramble where I talk too much. We'll just cut
how that
out.
Could happen.
I don't think that can happen, but.
I need my daughter to bring me something. Oh, she's bringing it. Thank you.
Vicky, nothing.
So
there we go. There we go.
All right. First one, I think, has to go to the grinder of the year. I think that's like, since most of the people watching will be players, I think that has to be the first one.
Absolutely. That's a good one to start with. Now, there's an absolute mountains of names to mention here, so I'm going to try and run through a lot of names, I guess. And I apologize to anybody if I've missed them out. But let me try and I haven't got an idea, by the way. I'll just run through some names and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But I guess let's start the high stakes if you like. And so grind of the year. Let's start with like Joe, for example, and he's someone that I think is not seen as the traditional grinder in terms of like volume in the game, but Joe is one of the most like Joe works really really hard, really long hours, and really really committed. But Joe is also someone that like in terms of grinding, in terms of the off table work, in terms of the game selection, the observing, the being efficient with your reg to ratios, Joe I think exceeds probably everybody in spins at the moment, and as a result, Joe has some of the best results. And I think the Joe deserves a shout out not just for like the actual in-game table count and volumes where like typically when we say grinder we kind of typically refer to that, but in terms of the hours committed, I think maybe that would be a better reference point as a kind of like grind level work. So we'll start with Joe, and then other guys at the high stakes. I guess we'll talk about Jonas, for example. I mean, grinds relentlessly and always seems cheerful and is always chatty and plays and plays and plays. Tim and Pablo, both on Party, have been absolutely fantastic grinding the high stakes there as well. Doing really, really well. Big shout out to Camille as well, who moved up to the high stakes earlier mid-year and is now doing absolutely brilliantly as well and puts in a ton of volume. I think I had a session with him earlier and he was 12 tabling 500s or 16 tabling or something ridiculous, battling in a way, and he's like successfully battled his way in to the kind of elite of the 500s regs, in my opinion, and really works hard and is a real good candidate as well. I think Stoyan. I was probably, if I was leaning to anybody, I was gonna lean Stoyan, Alex, in terms of grind of the year, like off the top of my head, just in terms of the commitment, the hours, the volume, just everything, just wanting to leave no stone unturned in the kind of quest for working hard at the game. And he's another one that's sort of successfully moved up to higher stakes in the last couple of months as well. So had some good success at the 250s now after like just dominating the 100 scene for so long in terms of all the volume and stuff he does. Now that's just like the high stakes stuff. I apologize if I missed anyone there because I'm sure I have as well. Gabe, I didn't even mention Gabe, but Gabe's fairly new, so Gabe, sorry you're disqualified because we have too many people to mention. And then actually also we probably should talk about like John, for example. John's another one that like grinds relentlessly as well. I'm just going to list every 651 member if I just carry on like this. So I don't know if we just want to limit to the high stakes or something, or like hundreds plus, because of course you could even talk about like people at the lower stakes. Some of the, I mean, Ali, for example. You know, Ali who
why you got that a non 651 members? Someone like Kivo.
Kivo grinds a lot. Winterhedge. I mean, there's lots of guys who are grinding lots of volume. Yeah, I'm listing lots of names here, so I apologize, but I just wanted to like throw in a few names. The boy Nick. In the last week or two, seems to be putting himself there. He missed the first bit of the year. Texas Tomo, what a grinder!
Last couple of weeks is in 2021, so
next year, Nick. Next year, this could be yours. But I think my main point. I mean, there's also like we didn't even talk about Alex and RSN and all the Alexes actually. And I missed lots of names there. And I'm so sorry if I missed anyone's name that feels offended.
Like. I think the grinder of the year will go to the higher stakes just because it's kind of / player of the year, and then you go to the higher stakes. I think.
Okay, if I was going to, I mean,
obviously you're the coach. You're not the coach of the year. We will have that award later. We don't know yet. Let's just call it that.
Spoilers, what?
I will let you pick them. Like this is a non-biased thing. Like it's everything
fine.
is.
So let's take. I'm gonna go grinder as in someone I think that puts like the most hours in. It's in which case I will give it to Alexander Stoyan for the sheer consistency.
First Oscar goes to
the Oscar in Oscar's hands. Oscars goes to Alexander Stoyan for grinder of the year. after I rambled on for about 15 minutes about everyone else it could be. But well done, Alex. I would clap, but I have a withered
You have a
hand.
broken hand.
So we'll
I've a
just
lot of gifts of clapping a lot.
perfect, easy, isn't it?
Second
And
award is Coach of the Year. So there's a little less options. So first one would be, oh shit, I don't know any other coaches from other stables. Like I wanted to go
you were
with.
going for the little joke, were you? You were
Yeah,
going for the little joke,
I tried it, but
the old 2018 Evolve joke we were going for.
yeah, we have obviously we have you, we have Bubble, we have Jack Stacks, we have Bad John, we have the boy Nick.
Yourself?
I don't coach poker, so I don't include my.
Coach. I still think that's coaching. We have also, like, I think to give a shout out to anybody else that is just regularly involved and offers help. Someone like Jonas, for example, again, who has given a lot of help to a lot of people. And I think, yeah, some other guys who are, let's say, less regular coaches, but still are there in terms of when you need them or not. And Henny did some work with the Low development group, I know, as well. And I think Tim, I don't know if Tim's coaching at the moment, but like I know Tim in the past has done sessions as well. And so
We
I
can't
think
leave out Cog, obviously.
Sorry,
We can't leave out Cog.
Coggy, absolutely. Cog is fantastic. I mean, Cog's up there, the huge background and fantastic history of coaching nearly everybody at high stakes.
If we would give a
Decade.
award for decade, then
That's
Cog,
where we're gonna go.
Cog doesn't have any other.
No competition. No competition.
No competition. Yeah.
I agree completely. And I think we should be complimentary in terms of, like, you know, Wubsy is fantastic as a coach. I think there were times this year where, like, I think Wubs is great because he's kind of got that emotional. He's gonna get all embarrassed because he doesn't like it when I compliment him. I love it when Wubs compliments me, but every time he compliments him, he gets all embarrassed and starts going red. And so you've got no choice, Wubsy. You just got to listen to me compliment you. But I think Wubsy's got such good emotional intelligence where there are times when he will. Some people might find it's hard to believe, but Wubs will occasionally drop me a Skype message, and what he'll do is he'll how do I get? If you're elite, you get responses from Bubs. But if I've had a bad day in Twitch or something, then unprompted he'll send me a nice message and just be like, oh hey, I think you played this one, no problems there, don't worry about it, etc., etc. And at the time I was like, that's nice, but like patronizing bastard. But actually, what I realized, it's really nice. Like, I really appreciate that every time. Like, just like, hey, you played that fine, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? And there were times last year where I was on a bit of a downswing, and I would occasionally hit up Wubsy, I think twice last year, and I was like, hey, I'm on a bit of a downswing, and he goes, it's variance, but let's do a session. And we just run through hands and we just chat, and he tells me about all his bad beats and how my downswing, he had like a 15 times worse one, and you know, all these stories which I'm like, it doesn't seem that bad that I'm complaining about being like having 10 GPV for the month or something, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and he's like, I've had minus 10 GPV for 4 years. No, he hasn't really, but they still pay me. No. I don't even know what I'm doing. That's what he kept telling me, but you know, don't tell anybody. But you know, I just think, and he's fantastic, and I think if anyone's not in his lucid sessions, they are just really good. Let's say, kind of like poker theory lessons. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I've had a long debate about exploitative versus solvers, but in terms of building your ground base of knowledge of poker up, I think they are so fantastic for that. And so we have to give big props to Jack.
I want to add to that. Yeah, obviously, I had that joke. I don't know if you saw that one. That I posted an interview 15 minutes before Bubsy's session, and I said, if you see in the hand that Bubsy will coach about, then you can watch interview instead. And I felt like I need to join now that session. And we looked at 2 hands or 3, but it actually was one of the best sessions because obviously he's not talking about the hand, he's talking about concepts and explaining a lot more than one hand.
Yes. Absolutely,
he's a great coach.
We'll also give credit to we've got to give a lot of love to Jack as well for his Fish Fridays. And Jack also, if you're I don't know what the stakes are exactly, but then if you take the one-on-ones occasionally with Jack, and Jack's someone I think that like not just in poker, but will try and bring a lot more holistic approach, let's call it that. You know what I mean? Where it's just like not just about the poker, but then also say, well, what else is going on, kind of thing. And I think that broad approach can be really, really helpful for a lot of guys. Where I think Jack's very good at recognizing certain, let's say, misconceptions or certain, let's say, mental narratives that someone might have, which are slightly off, both in terms of their life and also how that. I think Jack's really, really good at understanding the kind of link between like our base sort of way of thinking and behaving, and how that will overlap into the poker things. And so people that are perhaps, as a very stupid example, people who are quite maybe like risk averse in their life can often, of course, be perhaps a bit too risk averse in poker. And I think one of Jack's skills in terms of, because of all the books he's read and all the research he's done and all of the kind of concepts he studied that are more, let's say, call the sort of mental game aspect sides of it. I think he does a really good job of then explaining that to people, how that relationship affects your ability to play at the tables. And so and also, you know, Jack's fish game is fantastic. His theory game is actually really good as well. Like you're in a session and Jack will be like, not sure the solver would do that, and a lot of times I'm like, that's a bit of a guess, Jack, and then every time he's right, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, fair.
I guess he's done some work.
He's done some work for sure. And so yeah, we got to give a lot of love to Jack as well. The boy Nick, really big up the boy Nick. We got to big up Cog. We got to big up all the coaches. And
but I will cut down the descriptions about the coaches, and I will give the award because you're one of, like, I don't add myself to this nominee, so I will be the one who's giving the award, since you're one of the top contenders, and I will actually give it the second Oscars goes to Tomo, because you're booked for months and months. Like, it's so hard to get a session with you, and like I think everyone wants one.
That's nice.
I don't know why. Maybe you're good.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Who would know? Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. I think. Okay, it gets trickier to talk about myself because I'm quite good at being effusive with praise for other people. But I do think that I've talked with a lot of different people. I've got a lot of experience now with coaching, and I think trying to, a lot of problems that people will come with, we've kind of seen before, or we've seen other people had, or I've experienced myself. And I think it's good to be able to both the strategic aspects, to be able to quite good, like, nail down quite quickly. Like a lot of the new guys, they'll come in and say, well, you know, I've been playing XYZ, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. And then you come in and it's like, normally everybody has a few kind of like, let's call them just leaks, basically, you know, sort of like, oh, you're ISOing at 31% or something, you know what I mean? And it's like, we'll fix that. And then not just telling them, but then also trying to provide the evidence for why that would be the problem. You know, my little graphs, you know.
Everybody knows.
Everyone knows those graphs before. But I think there was a session I did with Antonio, I'm sure you won't mind me saying, where we went through some spots and it was in ultras, and so we were doing some new ultra work, and it was just a perfect kind of like, I think it was big blind heads up and big blind three-handed, probably something to do with Antonio calling rivers, but it was like we just saw his dot on one side of the axis and then another dot on the other side of the axis, and then the same for big blind heads up, and it was like just perfectly lined up, and just it was, I think it was really nice because rather than just say, oh, get these numbers down, it was just to show how that's impacting it. And then you imagine you reduce the frequency or you increase the frequency, and then you will drag your win rates up for sure. And then you go through the hands and you see the same patterns emerge. And so I think that's just, I hope that would be good.
One of the things, like, I can say that you have like that genuine interest when you coach. You don't turn up to coach just to like spend an hour with the player. You actually try to help and gain some, like, have fun in process, and that's I think that's your biggest strong.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, okay. I accept the offer. I accept Oskars Thank you. Powdies.
Okay, number 3. We go with stable of the year.
Well, let's talk about the contenders. 651, obviously, and then we've got heads up single. Are they still a thing? Smart spin.
Evolve is still not a thing anymore, but it's part of Evolve now.
The Evolve
part of
website.
651 now.
Yeah, RIP Evolve. Stable X, if that's still a thing.
Or let's just cut it down and give it to 651.
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah, 6. Yeah. That's mutual agreed decision there. Well done, 6. Everyone member of 651
is the newcomer of the year, but there's a lot of like interesting additions. I think we had me. I hope I'm an interesting contender for this one. We have a sex guard.
Sexy Gabe
is in. Some of the guys, like obviously there's a lot of Evolve members joined. I think I joined in the same time with Moham.
Moham? Yep. Yeah. Alex Moham?
Yeah. Who else joined this year?
That's a very good question. I don't know all the names, to be honest. I know when Oskars joined. I know when Gabe joined. I know now when Alex Moham joined. Bienvenido. There's obviously, people joining at all times. I think everybody has, let's say, differing impacts in terms of the wider 651 community. People have different, let's say, thresholds for being. Some people are more sociable, some people less sociable. No, everybody's individual, and there's no disrespect if you're someone that keeps yourself more to yourself. That's absolutely fine, of course. But if I may, and now it just sounds like we're just awarding each other's Oscars all the time, but I generally think if we're talking about who's had the biggest impact in terms of the 651 community in the last year, someone who's helped a lot of people out, someone who's done a lot of mental game coaching, maybe someone that I would say has helped people a lot with sexual problems, perhaps. Someone who everybody thinks cool guy, and they like the halftime videos about them. We're going to give newcomer of the year. We're going to give it to Oscars. We actually are going to give it to Oscars. Yeah. I think the interviews are fantastic. I think they've been a huge addition to the VMA library. Really nice to see. I think you can see now how 651 it's opening up a little bit. I think before we were perhaps a stable that was a bit more still professional, but a little bit less personable, let's say. Mm-hmm. And I think there's been more of a personal touch added in 2020, and I hope that continues to 2021. And we want to say Powdies to Oskars for his role in adding that human touch that we also desperately crave.
Yeah, I'm actually like I'm super happy that I joined the time I joined. When I joined, Babsi was first one, I think, who said, like, it's been a long time coming. I tried to join for 3 years, I think. Yeah. We've been in conversations for lots of different reasons. I didn't. And now when I joined, like, I think it was the perfect timing. Both sides were happy, I guess. At least I was. And yeah, I've been enjoying the time here so much. And one of the missions actually was to make it more sociable, because when we were in Evolve, we talked about like the people who joined 651. They said like they miss the sociable part, the webcam stuff and like all the conversations and all the banter.
Yeah.
And now I think we kind of brought it here.
Brought the banter.
As well.
Brought the banter. So
I don't know if it's more profitable, but at least more fun.